Hey guys, tonight we travel to a place not found on any map, a moment lodged deep in your memory, playing on loop whenever silence lingers too long. You're standing in a rented tux, hands trembling just slightly, surrounded by roses, murmuring relatives, and a wedding DJ who smells like cough syrup. Your bride glides down the aisle, radiant and sure, while your brother Mark gives a best man toast so awkwardly affectionate toward her, it earns a few chuckles, and your first pang of, huh. That's the image you start with. But tonight, you're not the groom full of dreams. You're the man who walked straight into betrayal so quiet, so polite, it wore a smile. You probably won't survive this emotionally unscathed, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing how far this story drifts before bedtime. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You think back to that wedding day, when your family laughed at your nervous stammer during the vows, and your brother kept refilling your champagne. Everyone kept saying how close you two were, how lucky you were to have such a supportive brother. Historians still argue whether betrayal was more common in ancient Rome or just more poetic, but even Marcus Junius Brutus had the decency not to flirt with Caesar's wife. And if that toast had been in Latin, maybe you'd have heard the warning. But you smiled, you held hands, you thought love had chosen you. Your father's decline begins slowly, just a misplaced key here, a repeated story there. You brush it off as aging. But one night he calls you by your uncle's name, and the air shifts. Suddenly you're juggling late-night drives, medical jargon, and meals that go cold on untouched plates. It becomes clear, this isn't just aging, it's dementia. And your life splits in two. You take a leave from work, you move into his house. You become the human calendar, the nurse, the son who won't leave his father alone in the dark. Meanwhile, your wife, Ellie, stays behind. Someone has to pay the bills, she jokes, tapping away on her laptop, booking yoga classes she never used to attend. Mark offers to help, occasionally. He visits once or twice, brings cookies your dad can't chew, then disappears. You chalk it up to grief. Everyone copes differently. And back in ancient Egypt, people used to shave off their eyebrows to mourn cats. No lie. You're not asking him to go that far, just to be present. One night, while spoon-feeding your father mashed peas, he mistakes you for your brother and calls you a snake. You laugh it off, but it stings. Your dad, always a blunt man, never wrong about people. Historians still argue whether prophetic insight can emerge from dementia. Some say the veil thins when the mind drifts. You begin noticing odd things. Fewer texts from Ellie, giggly emojis that don't match your heavy updates. Mark stops replying altogether. You assume it's stress, denial. Anything but what it really is. You still think you're the one holding everything together. You drive home one weekend, just a quick 48 hours to recharge, kiss your wife, maybe finally sleep through the night without listening for your father's breathing. The house greets you like a stranger. It smells like citrus and cologne, not your usual detergent. Ellie's car is there, but she doesn't come to the door. You let yourself in. The TV is on. The wine bottle is half full. There's laughter. Two voices. Yours isn't one of them. You call out, and the room stiffens. Ellie pops her head in from the hallway, her smile 2 seconds too late. "Didn't know you were coming home," she chirps, wiping something invisible off her neck. "You should have called." Mark emerges behind her, shirt untucked, holding your favorite whiskey, one you didn't know was open. "Bro," he says, as if that word hasn't just fractured into glass in your throat. "We were just talking about you." "Right. Talking. You don't make a scene." Ancient Romans believed in gravitas, stoic dignity. You channel that. You nod. You hug your wife and your brother like it doesn't feel like hugging fire. You ask about the dog you don't have, and pretend you don't notice Ellie's lipstick smudged on Mark's collar. Later you leave without confrontation. Historians still argue whether Julius Caesar ignored the Senate's betrayal signs out of arrogance or heartbreak. You get that now. Some betrayals need to bloom fully before you're allowed to name them. Back at your father's, you scream into a pillow so no one can hear. Then you make tea, rub his back, and tell him bedtime stories you barely remember from your childhood. Because even now, he's still your dad, and you're still his son. You start noticing patterns, the kind historians love digging up centuries later when the damage is long done and easier to label. Ellie calls less. Her texts become polite weather updates, not warm touches from a partner. Mark, your brother, your lifelong rival and roommate and once-upon-a-time protector, posts more photos from work events, and somehow Ellie always seems to be there, blurred just enough to deny but centered enough to know. You keep tending to your father, who started mistaking you for his own brother. "I wish I'd never trusted him," your father mutters one night, clawing at memories that don't belong to you but echo too well. The irony stings. You wonder if betrayal runs in the blood like cholesterol. Back home, your neighbor, old Mrs. Garnett with the beehive hair and binoculars she thinks are subtle, mentions she's seen your brother's car more often than yours lately. "Ellie must be so glad for the company," she adds, stirring her lemonade with deliberate sweetness. "Such a handsome boy, that Mark." It's funny how in ancient Sparta, brothers would train, eat, and die side by side. Loyalty was sacred. Betrayal, unthinkable. Unless you count Cleomenes I, who literally burned his co-king alive. But even that feels less personal than your life right now. You start recording timestamps. You save receipts. You scroll back to text histories and catalog patterns like some dusty museum archivist unearthing extinct feelings. You're not ready to confront yet, not without evidence. Because if you go to war, you want to walk into the courtroom not just with truth, but with iron-proof armor. You've read that some historians debate whether Hannibal really used snakes in jars as a battle tactic. If so, you might borrow that idea. Quietly, you gather your snakes. The confrontation doesn't come with fire. It arrives on a Wednesday, soft and surgical. You're folding your father's laundry. His old t-shirts still smell like motor oil and menthol, and your phone buzzes. A text from a number you don't recognize. No words, just a photo. It's Ellie, asleep, unmistakably in your brother's bed, her wedding ring on the nightstand next to his. Your hands go still. Historians still argue whether Julius Caesar actually said, "Et tu, brute?" But betrayal wrapped in family has a sting that echoes through time regardless of phrasing. You set the laundry down, slowly, like it might explode. And for a few minutes you just sit there, listening to the creak of your father's oxygen tank and the ancient whir of the ceiling fan. There's no mistaking what you saw. You could rationalize it for about 5 seconds. Maybe it's photoshopped, maybe she just fell asleep, maybe Mark got a new dog that looks exactly like her. But no, so you do what any modern gladiator does. You log into the shared cloud account. She never changed the settings. Inside are timestamps, locations, even synced screenshots from video calls. You're not snooping. You're preserving your own sanity. Later that evening, while feeding your dad mashed potatoes, you glance at the framed wedding photo on the mantel. The smiles look almost forced now. Was that your imagination? Did your brother's hand linger a little too long on her back even then? You think about the Roman practice of damnatio memoriae, erasing someone from all records, all statues, all memory. You imagine scrubbing your brother's name from your life. But you're not ready to erase. Not yet. You're ready to document, to build your case. Because when they smirk in court, you won't flinch. You'll smile. You start gathering evidence like a monk copying sacred texts. Slow, methodical, and slightly haunted. Every ping from the cloud becomes a clue. There's a video call from Mark's apartment, clearly post 10 p.m., and Ellie's laugh, your wife's laugh, is unmistakable in the background. That giggle used to echo through your kitchen while she diced garlic. Now it drips through your phone speaker like poison. Historians still argue whether Cleopatra's charm was rooted in her political genius or in her dramatic entrances, like sailing up the Nile in a golden barge with purple sails. Either way, she knew how to control perception. You too begin controlling the narrative, carefully curating a digital dossier. Every screenshot is a thread in your unfolding tapestry. Mark, your brother, used to be your shadow, chasing after your hand-me-downs, copying your haircut, even applying to the same college. You'd helped him prep for job interviews, even lent him money once when he maxed out his credit card. Now, the same brother leaves hearts on your wife's Instagram posts. Sloppy, really. Not even subtle. There's something oddly historical about betrayal within families, like the story of Emperor Commodus, whose own sister plotted against him. Sibling rivalry has always had a flair for the dramatic. But this? This is reality without a script. You don't confront them. Not yet. That's not the story you're writing. Instead, you buy a pocket-sized notebook, leather-bound, and begin scribbling by hand. Texts, times, patterns, even conversations you recall with sudden clarity, like when Ellie started staying late at work and Mark mysteriously canceled dinner plans. This is no longer just heartbreak, it's a case file, and every word you write makes your heart beat steadier, not colder, but calmer. Focused. Because if they want to laugh on the courthouse steps, they'd better pray you don't bring receipts. You finally speak. Not to them. Oh no, not yet. You speak to a lawyer. It feels surreal, like hiring a knight for a joust you never wanted to enter. The office is too clean, too glassy, and the lawyer, Dana, blinks behind cat-eye glasses while you spill your story with a mixture of tremors and hard edges. She doesn't flinch. In fact, halfway through your explanation, she nods slowly and says, "This might be the most textbook case of marital betrayal I've heard in months." And that, somehow, stings more than it soothes. Dana talks prenups, digital discovery, and emotional distress damages. You hear her say things like constructive abandonment and custodial leverage, and your brain swells under the legalese. But you nod. Because this is a process, a plan. It may be war, but you're learning the rules of engagement. Historians still argue whether Richard III was truly the hunchbacked villain Shakespeare painted, or just a convenient scapegoat for Tudor propaganda. Similarly, you start to wonder how much of your story will be twisted when told by the other side. Will you become the inattentive husband, the emotionally unavailable brother? Dana assures you. The courts care less about poetry and more about proof. And you've got plenty of that. On your way out, she hands you a thick packet. Don't confront them yet. Let them walk into the trap thinking you're still clueless. You almost laugh. It's the kind of advice Caesar might have appreciated before crossing the Rubicon. That night, you go home and cook dinner like nothing's happened. Ellie says she'll be working late again. You kiss her on the cheek and whisper, "Take your time." You've stopped asking questions. That's how she knows you know something, but she can't guess how much. The quiet before a courtroom storm is like the hush right before a thunderclap, unnatural and dense with static. You follow Dana's instructions to the letter. No sudden moves. No confrontations. Just the slow, silent drip of preparation. Meanwhile, Ellie continues her masquerade. She still sends heart emojis and texts "love you" at lunch, which would be adorable if they weren't the emotional equivalent of someone whistling while hiding a dagger behind their back. You nod, smile, even book a weekend getaway you never intend to take. Every move carefully calculated to keep her unaware. You begin collecting evidence. Text threads, timestamps, photos from neighbors' doorbell cameras. Technology is the new truth serum. Historians still argue whether ancient spies used invisible inks made from lemon juice or more arcane materials. But your tools are simpler: shared calendars, social media likes, and the holy grail, cloud backups she never thought to disconnect. Your brother? Still playing the oblivious role of Uncle Jake. You see right through it now. The smirks. The casual hand on her back during dinner. You remember he once joked that he should have dated Ellie first. You'd laughed then. You could spit now. And yet, you're composed. This isn't about yelling anymore. This is chess. One slow, punishing move at a time. You spend evenings with your father, pretending nothing's changed. You read him the sports pages and laugh with him when he dozes off mid-sentence. You even tell him about a made-up promotion at work. He grins, squeezes your hand. You won't burden him with the truth. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Like Queen Elizabeth I, who once said, "I have the heart and stomach of a king." You've decided to face betrayal with poise, until the moment you don't have to. And that moment's coming fast. The morning of the court date arrives wrapped in a fog so thick you can barely see the curb. Nature loves metaphors. You iron your shirt twice, check the documents 3 times. Your hands don't shake. They hum, quietly electric. Today, the curtain lifts. You walk into the courthouse like someone stepping through ancient gates, the kind emperors used to enter during Roman triumphs. Except instead of roses being thrown, you're greeted by polished linoleum and fluorescent lights. And instead of a chariot, you've got your sensible sedan parked 3 blocks down. Then they walk in. Ellie, in her expensive navy blazer. Jake, wearing the same smugness he's had since high school. They're not holding hands, but they might as well be. The moment they spot you, Ellie whispers something to him, and they both smirk. It's the same smirk you remember from your 12th birthday, when Jake accidentally took credit for your science fair project and walked away with the trophy. Some things never change. The hearing isn't about infidelity. It's about guardianship for your father. Ellie and Jake are arguing you're mentally unwell and obsessive, that your recent behavior proves you're not fit to make decisions. A low blow? Absolutely. But not unexpected. Historians still debate whether Julius Caesar truly said, "Et tu, brute?" or if Shakespeare gifted us that perfect betrayal line. Either way, it fits. Dana's presence is a quiet thunderclap. She presents text messages, financial logs, and a timeline that folds in on them like a house of cards under a sneeze. You watch as the judge's expression changes from bored to concerned. Jake tries to laugh it off. Ellie's voice trembles. Finally, you don't gloat. You don't sneer. You just breathe. Because revenge, when earned with restraint, tastes better than any courtroom coffee. Outside the courthouse, the world feels strangely lighter, as if the heavy fog from this morning decided to stay indoors. You trudge toward your car, every step a quiet echo of relief and exhaustion. People rush by, their faces blurred, caught up in their own dramas. But your mind is tethered to the moments just past. You think back to the ancient Roman concept of pietas, a sense of duty and respect for family and the gods, which was the backbone of their society. You wonder if that value ever existed in your family, or if it was buried beneath selfish ambition and whispered secrets. Historians still argue whether pietas was a genuine cultural virtue or just propaganda to keep the masses in line. Either way, you feel its absence acutely now. Jake and Ellie's smirks still linger in your memory, but so does the quiet strength you found in yourself. You recall quirky bits you once read, like how in medieval England, servants used to put wax seals on letters not just for security, but to send secret messages, a silent rebellion against the powerful. Your own small acts of defiance, your steady gathering of evidence, were your wax seals. As you sit in your car, the soft hum of the engine mirrors the background fan sound you asked for earlier, a soothing reminder to slow down. The fight isn't over, but for now, there's space to breathe, to plan, to heal. You glance at your phone, notifications flood in, messages of support from unexpected places. The world outside may be noisy and chaotic, but here, in this moment, there's quiet, a chance to rebuild from the shards, to find peace amid the turmoil. And maybe, just maybe, this story won't end the way everyone expects. Now the night settles gently around you like a soft blanket, cool and forgiving. The noise of the day fades, leaving only the rhythmic whisper of your breathing and the quiet hum of the fan. Your body eases into the calm, muscles unwinding from tension you didn't realize you carried. You're not alone in this stillness. You carry the strength of those who have faced betrayal and heartbreak before you, those who found light even when the shadows seemed endless. Imagine the stars outside, ancient witnesses to countless human dramas, their steady glow a reminder that time moves on, that pain softens with distance. Like the moon's slow dance across the sky, your story unfolds one quiet step at a time. You're not rushing to the end, but learning to live within each moment, savoring the small victories hidden in the silence. Let your thoughts drift like leaves on a gentle stream, carried away from anger and doubt, toward understanding and hope. The past may have been stormy, but the future holds space for healing and unexpected kindness. And as your eyelids grow heavy, know this: strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the softest whisper, the steady breath before sleep. So rest now, friend. Tomorrow is another page, waiting for your calm courage to write it.